following show is controversial and contains content you may find offensive. Listener discretion is advised. 98 FM's Dublin Talks. Dublin Talks with Adrian Kennedy.
Wasn't that a lovely bank holiday weekend? Yes, it was. Good morning. It's Tuesday, April 23rd, 2019. This is Adrian Kennedy, and between now and midday today, this is 98 FM's Dublin Talks, the mid-morning talk and phone-in show for Dublin, by Dublin, and about Dublin. So what have we got coming up on the programme today? Well, in a moment, we're going to be asking, do we need to ban Republican dissident groups like this group, Sarah, who however you pronounce it, who over the weekend on Saturday held a military-style protest outside the GPO less than 48 hours after the shooting dead of journalist Lyra McKee in Derry. I want to find out, do these people represent anybody? Or are they just a tiny little minority? Or maybe they do have some support. I want to find out a little bit later on, well, in a couple of minutes. Also, paternity leave. Why are men not taking the time off that they're actually entitled to when they become a daddy? New figures out today show that a shockingly small amount of men are taking their legal entitlement to paternity leave. We'll deal with that a little bit later on. And has your name been ruined by a song or a movie? I know over the years mine has. I'll explain how a little bit later on. All that and much more between now and midday today. And live from Dublin City Centre, this is Adrian Kennedy, and this is 98 FM's Dublin Talks. Now, as you will know, last week, a young journalist, a 29-year-old journalist from the north, was shot dead during disturbances in the Cregan area of Derry. And it's the topic that everybody has been talking about over the weekend, because on Saturday, Sarah, or whatever you pronounce it, the alleged political wing of the so-called new IRA marched outside the GPO in Dublin in military gear and everything else. It's estimated that up to 100 men and women in military clothing, complete with berets and sunglasses, took over O'Connell Street. The Taoiseach Leo Varadkar has described the group's actions as beneath contempt and said they dishonoured those who fought for Irish freedom in 1916. Simon Harris called them pathetic cowards. Others said allowing this march to take place was like allowing ISIS to march through the city centre. Let's have a listen to just some of the audio from one of the speakers at the rally outside the GPO on Saturday, to put into context who these people are.
Has managed to take action against Crown Force members in exactly the same way as previous generations. Republicans do not view armed resistance as illegitimate, and we are unapologetic about this. In this context, Republicans in Derry have been engaged in resisting those responsible for this repression. And on Thursday night, the young people of the Cregan led that resistance. In the course of these actions, a Republican volunteer fired shots at the PSNI following a number of house raids that were designed to antagonise. Those shots tragically killed a young journalist named Lyra McKee, who was standing behind Crown Force lines. However, what most Republicans agree on is that while Britain maintains her illegal occupation in the 6 counties, while she maintains partition, and while she infringes upon Irish sovereignty, then there will be some form of armed resistance.
There will be some form of armed resistance. And we want to find out from you whether or not you support groups like this, who, I mean, as you saw over the weekend, all of the political parties in the north, every single one of the main political parties in the north, from Sinn Féin to the DUP, all got together and issued a joint statement condemning what happened in the Cregan in Derry on Thursday. But we want to find out from you whether or not does a group like this have any support on this side of the border? Any at all? Call me right now on 6797 981. You can text or WhatsApp your opinion to us. to 0877 98 98 98. Now, we have reached out to try and make contact with this group, but not just us, but many other news outlets have had little success in fact, they completely ignored our request to have a discussion with them. So, a man who has written extensively about this group is crime editor with the Irish Mirror, Niall O'Connor. Niall, welcome to 98 FM.
Good morning, Adrian.
Niall, tell me what we know about this particular group who held this rally outside the GPO on Saturday, Sarah.
Sarah are considered to be the political wing of a group calling themselves the New IRA, and they have connections, obviously, then straight into some of the more recent issues in around Derry, East Tyrone, and kind of the general border area. And these people basically believe that there should be an armed struggle to reunite Ireland, and they also believe that they can act with impunity and they don't need a mandate to do that from the Irish public.
Okay, now tell me a little bit about then the new IRA. Again, you know, organisations like Sarah and the new IRA have only really come into the fore. We've only learned these names over the last couple of weeks, to be quite honest. Well, the average Joe Punter has. What do we know about the new IRA?
They've been simmering away, we'll say, for maybe just over a year, really. They're based in particular areas in the north, but they also have a significant presence down here in Dublin and in other areas of the country. Ultimately, what they are is they're dissident former IRA people. That's their leadership. But they've also recruited a number of what would be termed as disaffected young fellas in particular areas. And there is these people believe that they are the IRA. This new IRA tag that they put on themselves, they see themselves as the IRA that would have fought in the War of Independence. They believe, rightly or wrongly, and in fairness, is probably wrongly, they see themselves as the heirs to the throne of republicanism. They're led by a fella called Brian Kenna. Now, Kenna is in his late 50s, and he served time for an armed bank robbery in Wexford in 1990. And he got 10 years for that. Now, in that bank raid, and this was a provisional IRA operation, according to sources. So what happened was they went in to this bank in Enniscorthy in Wexford. They climbed up through scaffolding and went in through an open window. And when they got in there, they tied up the staff and threatened them, obviously. They were armed to the teeth, now, this gang. And the local Garda station, as they came in, there was a lady on one of the bank tellers was on a phone, and she was just able to get the alarm out there that we're being raided. The local superintendent at the time, now, as you're all aware, as all the listeners are aware, Gardaí wouldn't be routinely armed in uniform. In fact, there's rules against that. But in certain circumstances, the local superintendent decided to give 4 guns to 4 Gardaí who were on duty on the day in uniform. There was no armed resources at all in the town at the time. And they went up to the bank to try and confront these bank robbers. And as they arrived, the bank robbers were coming out, including Kenna, and getting into a van. And they fired shots at the Gardaí. Gardaí returned fire and injured one of Kenna's colleagues. And they were then obviously arrested. They were prosecuted, and Kenna served 10 years. Then, just about 16 months ago, he was coming out of Portlaoise prison, and detectives found that he was in possession of an IRA communique. And he was prosecuted, and he got 16 months. Then at that stage, this was in 2017, so he got 16 months imprisonment then for that, and that's essentially membership of the IRA, a prescribed organisation. So he has a fair bit of form. He was giving speeches down below at the GPO on Saturday. He gave a speech as well in Milltown Cemetery yesterday. And there is then another group, they're led by a group of, we'll say, middle-aged people who may or may not have had involvement with, we'll say, the provisional IRA. No, look, Adrian, this is a movable feast, this crowd. Like, there's no, they seem to change groups as much as they change their socks. So, we have, yesterday, for instance, we had the Continuity IRA, we had the Republican IRA, the Real IRA having their marches around the place. Groups like 32 Sovereignty Movement, County Sovereignty Movement, the Republican Sinn Féin, all these people, they're all kind of, we'll say, political wings of particular organisations. And this crowd are just the new kids on the block. But the problem with this bunch are they're particularly strongly radicalised, and they've already carried out attacks. So, look...
When we hear words like radicalised, I immediately think, and I'm sure most of our listeners immediately think of groups like ISIS who brainwash people into their way of thinking. Is that what's going on here? I mean, I see photographs from some of the rallies over the weekend, and some of the people involved are just kids who wouldn't even have been alive when we had the troubles on this island.
Yeah, look, this is what's going on. I think the word radicalised has been pinned on the Muslim faith, we'll say, kind of the Islamic-based terror groups, right? But this goes on here as well. And I'll say that I suppose one of my hobbies would be the study of history, and I certainly read a lot of the statements from, we'll say, War of Independence veterans, and in that they'll say that they were introduced to republicanism by a teacher, or for instance, in the case of Michael Collins, he was introduced to republicanism by a man who ran a forge in his particular community. So look, it has to start somewhere. You're not born with the idea that you're going to go out and commit treason against your own country. So these people, what they're doing at the moment now is that, and this is going on, look, in my previous life as a member of Garda Síochána, I would have came across a particular group in Limerick who were radicalising young fellas to their cause, and there was one particular person used to meet these young fellas in a particular location in Limerick, on a regular basis, and would discuss, would give their point of view. If you listen to their speeches as well, they all speak very, very similarly. They speak in a particular kind of cliched way about, Crown forces, this, the armed struggle. They speak in cliche. And of course, that's a way of hooking on to a particular viewpoint and reinforcing that viewpoint. And in this instance, their viewpoint is that they believe that there should be violence against anyone that doesn't agree with them.
Okay, now it would appear, certainly from the killing of Lyra McKee in Derry on Thursday, that this has been the single biggest own goal for so-called dissident Republicans. Am I right?
Absolutely, and you know what? We're looking at it here now as well from this perspective. Ireland has moved on. The vast majority of Irish people would have a Republican idea, and they would like to see the whole of Ireland unified, and that's for certain. We know that, right? But these people have lost the run of themselves, and they believe now that the Irish public want violence to achieve those means. But they go out then, and they're up above in this area, in the Cregan in Derry. There's a large number of their members, the new IRA members, are disaffected young fellas who are essentially also kind of involved in the antisocial behaviour that you would see in any kind of disadvantaged area, right?
So just looking for trouble.
They're looking for trouble. They're out there. They're enjoying a little bit of attention, or they're inside in a group. Like any group of thugs, they like to be inside in a group if it makes them feel powerful. One of them took a gun to what they term as Crown forces, the PSNI, who had launched a raid against new IRA members in the Cregan, and they took a gun. They produced a firearm at this. When they were, up until then, they were throwing stones and petrol bombs at the PSNI vehicles. And then one of them came up, tracksuit wearing thug essentially, with a firearm and fired off some rounds. Now, last night, of course, the new IRA have admitted that they shot Lyra McKee. The Sarah, in their statement the other day, said that it was an accidental shooting by a volunteer. So you see, you're getting back into the whole language of the situation again. Volunteer, you're getting back into the scenario of what people were called during 1916.
But what it appears to me is that this group, or these groups, these numerous different IRAs, are completely and utterly out of step with the public mood in both the North and down here in the Republic.
Yeah, and if you look into some of these people and the beliefs that they believe that the last Dáil was the third Dáil. I mean, they seem to have missed out on pretty much 100 years of Irish history. And they believe that the Irish government is not a legitimate government. They believe in they see the Irish government as this free state. They'll call you a free stater if you believe anything other than what they believe in. It's an absolute obnoxious and ridiculous, unfounded and uneducated, ignorant view on Irish history. They have completely missed out 100 years of Irish history, and these people would drag us back, if they could, to the 80s and the 90s. When there was open warfare and murder on our streets, but let's be honest about it, they have no mandate. They have zero mandate.
All right, well, we want to find out what sort of a mandate they do have. I want to find out if there is anybody who supports groups like this. And we're going to take some calls in a couple of minutes. Crime editor of the Irish Mirror, Niall O'Connor, thank you very much indeed for joining us on 98 FM. Very informative indeed. Let's have a listen to this WhatsApp voice message which has come in to us. And if you want to send us one, all you have to do is send your WhatsApp voice message to 0877 98 98 98. 0877 98 98 98. Let's have a listen to this WhatsApp voice message.
Adrian, these people are morons. Utter morons. They truly believe that they're going to be held in the same regard as the leaders of this country in the early 1900s. Marching through Dublin in their cheap sunglasses and their Chinese berets. The people of Dublin completely disillusioned with them. And they're wearing British Army surplus combat gear. They having a laugh. Cheers.
All right, now after the break I'm going to be talking to a Sinn Féin councillor who over the weekend tweeted, "You are not Republicans, you are anti-peace process, you will not distract us or undermine our work building Irish reunification by peaceful means." I'll be talking to Dahi Doolan straight after the break.
98 FM's Dublin Talks with Des Kelly Interiors. For all the latest trends in carpets, vinyls and wood flooring. Des Kelly Interiors, where quality flooring costs less. 98 FM.
And this is Adrian Kennedy with you until midday today. I'd love to hear from you on this on 6797 981. What is your reaction to the rally, if you want to call it that was held on Saturday by the group calling themselves Sarah? They were dressed in military gear. Just 48 hours after the shooting dead of a young journalist in Derry on Thursday. Do you think we should have a ban on groups like this assembling in places like the GPO, or it also happened in Cork, or do they have any support? Text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98. I'm joined on the line by Sinn Féin councillor Dahi Doolan, who, Dahi, looking at some of your tweets over the last couple of days, you're very annoyed by what you have witnessed in terms of the shooting of Lyra McKee and this rally on Saturday.
Well, thanks for having me on, Adrian. First of all, I want to express heartfelt sympathy to Lyra McKee's partner, Sarah, family and friends in Belfast, Derry and elsewhere. I think we need to make sure that we maintain our dignity and our humanity during this, and we're dealing with the grieving family. So I think we need to be sensitive around the discussions. So I just want to say they're still in our thoughts and will be in our thoughts for the foreseeable future. And I think in relation to the rally on Saturday, I'm not one to call for bannings and outright bannings of political assembly. I don't agree with it. I think it's going the wrong direction. The Guards have plenty of legislation. There is legislation on the books at the moment.
So what could they have done on Saturday?
I think to be honest, what should have happened, the group involved should have taken a long, hard look at themselves, and it shouldn't have gone ahead. It didn't go ahead in Derry. I think they realised, they read the temperature and realised they weren't wanted. But they've no support, they've no strategy, they've no vision. They're an anti-peace process gang. They want to pull down the peace process. We won't let that happen. We're going to redouble our efforts and make sure that this peace process is constructed and delivers for the people of Ireland, North and South. And I think that grouping, and there's other groupings as well. It's not just one grouping. There's groupings there's unionist paramilitaries as well who are trying to pull down the peace process. Anti-peace process elements won't distract us. They won't divide us. And
okay, but what people like these groups see is, a united Ireland being further away than ever. We have no assembly up the north. There's a complete and utter vacuum, and your party are partly responsible for that.
Well, the whole issue of the assembly, it's a political process, and there is no alternative. Regardless of, and I met with Protestant Unionists and Loyalists in the last few months. I've done outreach with them. I spent weekends with them. I spent days with them. I brought them to Dublin, to Ballymun, to Leinster House. I'm proud to do that. They're our brothers and sisters sharing this island. And I have always said, no matter how frustrated we are at the moment with Stormont, let's remember how better it is than it was 25 years ago. I remember the war. I remember the conflict. I remember the casualties. We are still in a better place than where we were.
And nobody would disagree with that. But what is the difference? What is the difference then, Dahi?
I need to be very strong on this. Just because there's a vacuum in Stormont doesn't give anybody the right to attack the peace process.
Okay, but what is the difference? And this is what some people can't understand. What is the difference between a group like this now and their so-called political wing than your party back in the 70s and 80s and the political wing of the IRA?
Well, I would have to say that the Good Friday Agreement changed everything. It's 21 years since the Good Friday Agreement. And this organisation that parades in Dublin today and carried out that awful attack last night isn't the IRA. It wasn't the IRA. The IRA were instrumental in the peace process with other groupings, both loyalist, the British government and the Irish government. They were committed to the peaceful reunification of Ireland, and the Good Friday Agreement changed all that. There is a political alternative that's there now that wasn't there in the 60s, 70s, 80s and the early 90s. And we worked really hard with others and with the US administration to creating an environment where politics could grow, develop, and the outworkings of that with the Good Friday Agreement. And the war is over. These people need to realise the war is over. It is now a political struggle, and a united Ireland is an absolute legitimate aspiration, and we are absolutely committed to reunification of this island, both by peaceful means. There is a road, and we're asking them to travel with us, and we're asking people across the island to travel with us towards unity, but by peaceful means. And these groups, these shadowy groups, the anti-peace process groups, they don't have a strategy. They need to come out and debate with us, show us a strategy, or else disband.
A lot of people, and in fact, have a couple of text messages saying this: to hear a Sinn Féin councillor speaking in this way is hypocritical at best.
Well, people are absolutely entitled to their views. I'm open to discussing with them, but nobody can doubt Sinn Féin's commitment to the peace process. Many of our own leaders were under threat. Their lives are put at risk because of their commitment to the peace process by some of these anti-peace process elements. And we remain committed to the peace process. I'm not going to be dragged back to the past by a simple text, a tweet, or a shadowy anti-peace process gang. I and my party are absolutely committed to the peace process, and we need to be looking forward and building a vision for United Ireland. I think particularly at this time with Brexit, which brings into stark focus the ridiculousness and the contradiction of partition on this island, now is a time to show leadership rather than trying to drag us back in the past and look backwards. We're a political party looking forward. We're very confident. We're looking forward and we're committed to the peace process. Nobody can doubt Jerry Adams, Martin McGuinness, Jerry Kelly's commitment to the peace process, and our current leader, Mary Lou McDonald, absolutely committed to the peace process. We're committed to it north and south, and anybody who's going to try and distract us from that is simply being disingenuous. All right, Sinn Féin Councillor Dahi Doolan, thank you very much for talking to us. Thank you. Bye-bye. That hashtag not in our name trended over the weekend following the murder of Lyra McKee in Derry. And we want to find out, is there anybody who says it is in our name? I don't think so, but maybe, a few of them were on O'Connell Street the other day. But other than that, do they represent anybody? Pauline, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Pauline?
Hello, Adrian. How are you?
What did you want to say on this, Pauline?
I just find it disgusting that 2 days after the girl's murder, these hate groups are on the streets of Dublin. I don't even understand how they were allowed. I mean, we've had Varadkar talking about how disgusted he was this morning. He needs to bring in legislation to ban these marchers. I think it's an absolute disgrace.
The reality of it is, Pauline, we are entitled to peaceful assembly, and there was nothing in any way unpeaceful about what they did on Saturday. It was a perfectly peaceful march. The march was allowed to take place and did not need council approval because of the numbers involved. The attendance was less than 5,000. So
anything in a kind of a paramilitary kind of style uniform is an aggressive kind of thing to me. I would feel very intimidated with them on the street.
You see, then you get into you know, having to get approval for the sort of clothes that you're wearing in a protest, and that would just get ridiculous. And I do understand what you're saying, Pauline.
Yes,
that they were dressed in.
Enough of it.
They were dressed in so-called, you know, army fatigues or whatever.
It may be.
But
some people point out how ridiculous it looked and how ridiculous they looked. The point is, when there's always these little scroats that are kind of going to be, I don't think radicalised is the right word, but I think they are drawn to kind of military kind of, you know, peculiar political organisations and kind of hate groups, which is what they are. That's the bottom line.
And I do understand that, but we live in a country where we support peaceful protest. And it was peaceful. There was nothing unpeaceful about it.
At the back of that is nothing peaceful about it. They will use any kind of... I mean, the killing of a girl, I don't know if it was that particular group or another group. Another group was mentioned, wasn't it, in Lyric?
But the so-called new IRA are the ones who were responsible for the killing of that.
Obviously, they have access to arms and ammunition. Well, that girl would be alive.
Yes, correct, yeah.
The point is, at the back of that so-called peaceful assembly, there are people willing to supply them with arms and ammunition to kill people. Death and destruction is what they are about, no more than the provisional IRA were about. The point is, or the UDA or the other side of it, the point is, I find these groups intimidating. I'm not the only person, I'm sure, in Ireland that would find a march like that, however so-called peaceful it is, intimidating. The point is, something needs to be done about this. We've had, 35 years of the Troubles?
Yes.
In Northern Ireland. I think people are fed up to back teeth with this political posturing and, you know, going back 800 years and talking about what happened in there. They don't even know. They weren't even born when the Troubles were going on in the north.
Okay, so would you like to see a ban on groups like this having an assembly of any sort?
Of course, absolutely.
Okay, but let's do a poll on this and find out whether or not you would support a ban on peaceful protest, because that's what it was on Saturday. No matter what way you want to look at it, there was no trouble, there was no violence, there were a few speeches, and that was it. Off on their merry way they went in their military fatigues. I want you to text the word yes or no. The question is, should we ban groups like this group, Sarah, from having a gathering at the likes of this weekend? Text the word yes or no to 0877 98 98 98. 0877 98 98 98. Would you support the banning of groups like this having get-togethers? Text yes or no to 0877 98 98 98. I'd like to find out whether or not you, much and all as we may not support what they're standing for or what they're doing, do you think we should ban them having get-togethers like this and speeches at the GPO? Text yes or no to 0877 98 98 98. Anthony, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Anthony?
Good morning, I'm fine, thank you.
Good. What do you want to say on this?
I think that, first of all, to answer your poll question, I think that, yes, there should be a ban, and I'll give you my reason why. It's a political branch of a militant group, in their own words there, and I think that first of all their reason for being is because they don't believe that the Irish government is legitimate or legal, and they don't consider the Irish military to be legitimate or legal, and it's akin to treason, that kind of behaviour. They're walking around with fatigues with the Irish flag on it. They're, I suppose, portraying themselves as the legitimate force of the country. That is akin to treason, and that behaviour shouldn't be allowed. It's a militant group. It should not be allowed.
Okay, but let me read out a message that's just come into us on this, right? While I think these are a pack of idiots, I would vehemently oppose giving the state any power or say when it comes to censorship. From what I've heard over the weekend, the vast majority of people look upon these groups with scorn and derision, which should offer us some solace, but the state should not be telling people who can and who can't speak.
If you allow me to continue, I think ordinary citizens are allowed to peacefully gather and peacefully protest, as we've seen with the likes of the Yellow Vest movement, with protests over the water charges, things like that, and that will always continue. And I don't think the people would ever allow that to be stopped. But when you have a military group who believe that the Irish government is not legitimate, then that is, according to our constitution, treason, and that should not be allowed.
Okay, stay there for 1 second, Anthony. Let me just bring in another call. Stay there for a second. Karen, you're on 98 FM. Hi, Karen.
Hi, Adrian.
Karen, what did you want to say?
I believe that they should be able to march. I mean, how many men, women and children have died for us to get a free state? So the freedom of speech should be something, an expression that we shouldn't be trying to take away from these people, regardless of what they have to say. Like, they're there because they feel that they want to express that for the Irish country to be a united country. So I don't think to call them idiots is a bit far-fetched, to be honest, as well. I mean, nobody's stopping the people in England that are over there marching for was that they're over there going
climate change and all of that.
Thank you, and gluing themselves to the streets. It was said there a few moments ago. There's nothing like that. They had a peaceful march. What was the problem?
Well, Anthony, what was the problem? They had a peaceful march. End of.
They're dressed in fatigues with the Irish flag and representing themselves as a military force for the country.
What do you want them to wear? What would be acceptable for them to wear? All black? Because that would be disgraceful to that young girl that died as well.
No, dress as ordinary citizens, because that's what they are. They're not a military force representing the country. They should represent themselves and themselves only. They're trying to portray themselves as a military force representing the entire country. They do not speak for me. They do not speak for you. They do not speak for anybody else.
I don't know if they speak for Karen or not. Do they speak for you, Karen?
No, I don't think that they ever claimed that they did either, down, to be honest. They speak for themselves and what they believe in. So they very much have the right to march and say whatever they want.
Up in Derry, they're already painting underneath murals, not in my name, because of the journalist lawyer that was murdered. These groups are
but Anthony, aren't they? If you'll forgive the awful pun, aren't they shooting themselves in the foot anyway? Isn't public opinion completely railing against them anyhow? So let them speak. Let them make a fool of themselves.
Yeah, let them say whatever they want to say.
Fair enough. Yeah, let them speak, but they still do reach some people. And if these groups were put down a little more virulently, then you wouldn't have had teenagers armed and shooting journalists.
Let me ask you, Anthony, you're talking about the protest on Saturday, and I think a lot of people feel it was very ill-timed. They should have cancelled it. They cancelled a similar protest in Derry.
And that's the only reason I would call them foolish.
Yes, and I think most people agree. It was an idiotic thing to do, to have that protest less than 48 hours after that journalist was shot. It was a stupid thing to do.
And after their military wing claimed responsibility for it.
No, I think that happened subsequently. But anyway, the point being, with regard to a protest like this, it was peaceful. And somebody just texted in a second ago saying they're entitled to wear what they like. I mean, do we want to go down a road where you have to get approval for the clothes you're wearing at a protest?
When you're passing yourself off as a military person for the country, yes, because then the army would actually get involved. Because I seen a picture of one that looked very like the Irish fatigues with the Irish flag on it. The military police can arrest you for that.
Okay, stay there for a second. Let me have a listen to this WhatsApp voice message.
If it was ISIS on the streets of Dublin, would she feel the same? Because they're marching for their right to their religion as far as they're concerned, whether they're extremists or not. So I think she's talking total bull. Do you know what I mean? They shouldn't be let on the streets. They shouldn't be, either do it peacefully or don't do it.
Okay, well, they did do it peacefully. I have to say that, and that has to be stated. Stephen, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Stephen?
Yeah, good, Adrian. Yourself?
What do you want to say?
It was just about the councillor that you had on there, Adrian. A couple of things he said. If Sinn Féin were truly behind the peace process, sure, they'd reveal all the hundreds of unmarked graves that they've left, and people trying to move on and get what's the word I'm looking for? You know, when you die and you don't know where your body is, they need to know to get what's the word I'm looking for? Can't think of it. Oh, never mind. But then he went on to say that Mary Lou MacDonald is fully behind the peace process. So wasn't she only 3 weeks ago behind the banner in Boston saying get the Brits out of England or Ireland?
But sure, that's their mantra. That's their thing. They want the Brits out of Ireland. They make no excuses for that.
Yeah, but the hypocritical thing about it, Adrian, is that's exactly what these fellas on Saturday were all about.
Yeah, but they're prepared to do it with violence if necessary. That's the difference.
And the IRA never committed any violence.
Yes, but they've signed up to the peace process, which meant that the IRA was disbanded, which meant that they handed over their weaponry. The war is over, as they say.
Listen, I don't believe if they reveal where all the marked graves are. Then Ireland can get behind Sinn Féin and say, you are truly moving on.
All right, stay there for 1 second. 6797981 is our telephone number. You can text or WhatsApp us on 0877 98 98 98. And also take part in our Dublin Talks text poll, where we're asking this simple question. Should there be a ban on demonstrations like we witnessed on Saturday outside the GPO from dissident groups in army fatigues having a protest rally outside the GPO? Or maybe you're totally against that idea in that we believe in freedom of speech, and whether or not you agree with what they're saying, they're entitled to say it. Call me right now on 6797981. We'll take a quick break. We're back in just a moment.
98 FM's Dublin Talks with Des Kelly Interiors. For all the latest trends in carpets, vinyls and wood flooring. Des Kelly Interiors, where quality flooring costs less. 98 FM.
Now, we were running a Dublin Talks text poll where we were asking you, would you support a ban on groups like this assembling outside the GPO on Saturday? 58% of you said no, you wouldn't support a ban. Which means a lot of people believe in freedom of speech, and whether you agree with what they're saying or not, they have a right to speak. Let's have a listen to this WhatsApp voice message, which is pretty much saying the same thing.
When you take away someone's free speech, you only leave them with violence. It's not a good idea.
Okay, and that backs up our poll. 58% of you said no, you do not support banning groups like this, banning them assembling in a peaceful way. 58% said no, 42% of you said yes. Angela, you were sickened by what you saw on O'Connell Street over the weekend.
Absolutely. It was like, going back in history. It's like going back in time, and because she said 36 hours after an innocent girl got murdered, and she got murdered. She wasn't just shot, she was murdered.
She was murdered, yeah.
And they come out and go, we're sorry about that, but, she was standing next to somebody. Well, I'm sorry, that just goes to show how crap you are. I mean, like, there's a girl dead. Does that not say something for them?
Yeah, but what it does say for them is that they were completely and utterly wrong to hold any sort of a protest in Dublin 36 hours later. They called it off in Derry. They should have done the same thing in Dublin.
Well, that's it. No matter where you wanted to march, they shouldn't have... this is what annoys me is, they're organising a protest, a peaceful protest. They're organising a peaceful march. That's fine. But why are you blocking up the city? Why are you stopping, if it's freedom of speech, you're actually stopping freedom of movement, right? So you're stopping people going where they want to go. You want to do that, do it in the middle of a park. Do it outside in a field somewhere. Stop blocking up the bloody city. Because I'm sick to my teeth of it now at this stage. And I put a comment up and someone was saying, would you say it about the climate change as well? Yes, I would. What are you doing having marches in the middle of a city?
Because we live in a country where people have a right to protest.
They have a right to protest, but let's say, can I go out in the middle of O'Connell Street now and stop the traffic for something? Can I? Can I go out in the middle of the street and say, well, I'm protesting against something? I'd be arrested. So why aren't they? Can I go up the middle of O'Connell Street now, stand there and block up everything?
The question we were asking is, should groups like this be banned from having rallies or protests?
I think they should be banned from having rallies or protests on O'Connell Street.
You see, it's very symbolic, O'Connell Street and the GPO and everything else that
I know
it
it is, but the thing is, there's people who are working, there's people who are travelling, there are people who are going around the place. I'm not saying they don't care, but don't support this. So why should they be held up? Because this pack of idiots, that look like a pack of idiots, as they said, they think they're in Top Gun or something with their stupid glasses, like. Do you know what I mean? And like, if they're all for this, why are they wearing disguises? Why are they wearing balaclavas? Why are they wearing all of that?
All right, Angela doesn't support protests like this being held, but 58% of you believe in freedom of speech, believe in the right to hold a protest like this, whether or not you agree with what is being said. Jeremy is here with us.
Yeah, here is the official line, because there's lots of confusion coming in from our listeners about how this was allowed, how future things are allowed. Okay, this is called the freedom of assembly, Adrian, okay? And it's in our constitution. You can look this up on the internet. It's on the government pages. And here's what it says, okay? You have a right to assemble or meet peacefully and without weapons. Okay, that's Article 40 of the Constitution. The right is limited by legislation to protect public order and morality. Okay, so obviously you can't organise a big group of people with something that is obviously immoral. Okay, now what that comes down to, that depends on what you can class as immoral. The law prevents or controls meetings that are calculated or designed to cause a riot or a breach of peace. They are the that's obviously the limitations of it. There are other limitations on your freedom of assembly. You cannot meet on private property without the consent of the owner. That's trespassing. That's fair enough. Parades and processions are not illegal, but it is a public nuisance to obstruct a highway. You may not hold a procession or meeting within a half a mile of the houses of the Oireachtas when it has been prohibited by the Gardaí. So it's fairly clear. It's in black and white what you are allowed and aren't allowed to do.
And quite simply, even though Leo Varadkar described them as beneath contempt, they actually did nothing wrong. They have a right to protest. Simple as. All right. Thanks very much indeed for all of your calls, comments, texts and opinions. This is 98 FM.
98 FM's Dublin Talks. Text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98.
Now, we have a question for you. Has your name ever been ruined by a movie or a song or whatever? Now, in fact, Jeremy and I have two examples, one being a movie and one being a song.
Yes, people have been posting on website Reddit over the last couple of days of how their names and their babies' names have been ruined by pop culture. And I'll give you an example. When I was growing up, there was a family on our road, Adrian, called The Simpsons. And this was before the cartoon ever came about. And they were just known, they were a family of The Simpsons. And they lived 5 doors down from us, and they were a lovely family. And then in the late 80s, this cartoon came onto Sky called The Simpsons. And all of a sudden, this family in our estate were slagged every single day. We used to call the little kid Bart. We called the daughter Lisa.
Just because their name was Simpson.
And the family that lived next door to The Simpsons, we nicknamed him Ned Flanders. All because of that. And their whole name was ruined because of pop culture.
Right, well, I had my name ruined back in 1976 with the movie Rocky. Now, you might wonder why. This is still said to me, I won't say on a daily basis, but on a weekly basis. Yeah? On a weekly basis, I hear somebody saying this.
You went the 15 rounds. How do you feel? All right, what are you thinking about when that buzzer sounds for that one? What do you think about when the 15th round when you're coming out?
Adrian!
People do say to you, I'd be out with Adrian in a social capacity, and people will come up to him and they think he's never heard it before, and they come up to him and go, Adrian! Adrian!
And it wrecks my head. But you've one as well that ruined your childhood.
Yes, my name, as you know, is Jeremy. And back in the late 70s, early 80s, there was a TV programme on BBC called Jeremy the Bear. Now, I just want to say from the offset, I was not named after Jeremy the Bear.
Okay, have a listen to Jeremy the Bear.
I'm a bear called Jeremy. I can do most anything. I can play and I can sing little tunes like do re mi. When he heard me sing, the king of birds said to me, here's for you, dear thing, a whistle that goes tweet, 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 tweet.
Oh,
tweet.
the memories, the memories. Okay, shut up.
I'm a bear called Jeremy. So we want to find out from you how your name has been ruined by a movie, Adrian, or a song, I'm a bear called Jeremy.
Yeah, I mean, 15 years of people coming up to you saying I'm a bear called Jeremy, it gets a bit tired, doesn't it? And I'm sure the whole Adrian thing is tired for you, is it?
Oh, big time, yeah. And it still happens.
Yeah.
It still happens. Group of lads from a building site the day before yesterday, Adrian! Lads, I've heard it before.
Yeah, maybe your name is also featured in a song. Because if you have a name that happens to be featured in a song, I'm sure you get sick of people coming up to you every day saying, and I'm just thinking, we used to go up with there was a girl in our roll called Mandy. Of course, there was a song by Westlife called Mandy. And people used to go up and just sing the song to her constantly. Like it was the first time she ever heard it.
Text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98 and let us know how your name was ruined by a movie or a song and something that just constantly gets recited back to you. Let's have a listen to this WhatsApp voice message.
Morning, lads. Obviously, do you remember Only Fools and Horses where they had the guy and his name was Gary and they would call him Gotti? And I used to get awful slagging over that, and I actually still do after the lads have a few pints. Gotti!
I'd love to hear from you. Where am I going? Ashley, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Ashley?
Hi, guys. How you doing?
Now, tell me about your wife and her maiden name.
Yeah, well, obviously, before we got married, her name was Grace Kelly.
Ah.
Yeah. So you had two generations. You had the older generation that would refer to the actress and Princess of Monaco whenever she'd say her name because she's a nurse in the local hospital. So obviously she says her name all the time. But then the younger generation would refer to the Mika song.
Yes, Grace Kelly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I absolutely did her head in.
Now, Ashley, I thought the obvious question to ask you would be, how's Mary Kate? Do people ever ask you how Mary Kate is?
Who's Mary Kate?
Who's Mary Kate?
Ah, come on, lads. Mary Kate and Ashley, the most famous twins of all time. No? Ask them how Mary Kate is.
No clue.
No clue.
What?
Nobody has a clue what you're talking about.
Nobody knows who Mary Kate and Ashley are?
No, nobody
really?
does. No.
Do you know, Adrian?
No.
You have no idea who they are?
No.
Little blonde girls. Oh,
no.
Dear. Oh.
Thanks, Ashley. Grace Kelly, I'd love to hear from you. How has your name been ruined? Or do you have a famous name like Grace Kelly? Call me now on 6797 981. Text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98. 98. Live and exclusive to Dublin's 98 FM, Monday through Friday between 10 and midday. This is Adrian Kennedy. You're with 98 FM's Dublin Talks. And Trish is here with Tuesday's top headlines.
Thanks, Adrian. The head of the Road Safety Authority says it beggars belief that people would keep driving on a learner permit, having never sat their driving test. 120,000 people who got their licence between 1984 and 2016 have not attempted the test, according to the Irish Times. Current laws mean that learner drivers only need to have a test booked when renewing their permit. A 57-year-old woman has been arrested in connection with the murder of Lyra McKee in Derry. Earlier, the new IRA admitted it was behind the journalist's murder and issued an apology. Lyra was shot dead during riots on Thursday night and her funeral takes place tomorrow. And 4 deer who were running from dogs impaled themselves on railings in the Phoenix Park last year. As a result, park rangers are appealing for owners to keep their pets on a lead. And are you up to date on 98?
98 FM's Dublin Talks. Dublin Talks with Adrian Kennedy.
Tuesday morning, good morning. I hope everything is good with you. This is 98 FM's Dublin Talks. I'm Adrian Kennedy. That man there is Jeremy the Bear. And we're talking about ways in which a song or a movie might have ruined your name, or maybe you have a very famous name and it becomes an absolute wreck the head. We got a message in a moment ago from somebody. My name is Mary Kate, and I always get asked, where's Ashley, when I introduce myself to people.
Adrian hasn't got a clue who that is.
I know, I do now. Mary Kate and Ashley.
You Googled them,
They
didn't
were
you?
twins, weren't they?
If anybody is called Pamela as well, if there's a woman listening called Pamela, I'd love to hear from you about the hassles you had. I went to college with a girl called Pamela. She was in my class in college, and for 2 years in college, you know what people used to say to her?
No.
How's your 5 sisters? Every day, Pamela would arrive into college, and some smart arse would go up to her. Hey, you Pam, how's your 5 sisters?
Sharon, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Sharon?
Hi, Adrian.
Sharon, how was your name ruined?
From the snapper.
A1, Sharon.
A man never said that to you after making love, did he? A1, Sharon.
No, I couldn't be saying that over the radio.
Oh, in other words,
the answer is yes. That has to be, because it was a grand old name until the snapper came along. Oh, that was A1, Sharon.
And even till this day, when it comes on the telly, I still get it.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I can see how that becomes a bit of a wreck the head, all right.
The gas thing about that scene is it wasn't really A1. It was on the bonnet of a car for about 2 seconds. There was nothing A1 about it at all. Sure there wasn't.
A 2-second wonder.
In a drunken stupor, like.
Yeah. All right, good to talk to you, Sharon. A1, well done.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Let's have a listen to this WhatsApp voice message.
My name is Aaron, and everyone says to me, AA Ron.
And another one.
When Gay Borden was on the Late Late Show, I always got roll it there, Roisin. Obviously, my name is Roisin, did me head in.
There's also a woman that rings this show regularly, and her name is Cindy. And anytime she rings the show, Adrian thinks he's being very clever and smart. What do you say to her when she rings?
Hello, Cindy. I've actually met that woman.
On an English accent.
I've actually met that woman. And,
that's not the voice.
Hello, Sydney.
No, hello, Cindy. That's it.
Well, it's actually Sydney, he says, isn't it?
No, Cindy, I think is her name.
And here's one more WhatsApp message.
Yeah, how you doing? My name is Barry. My mother's name is Anne. And I'll never forget in primary school when the Anne and Barry book was taken out.
Oh, yeah.
Jesus, I got an awful lot of stick.
I forgot about that, yeah.
Keep your messages coming in to 0877 98 98 98. Ways in which songs or movies or just having a famous name has made your life a bit of a misery.
Can I read
just
out
having
this,
the name Sharon?
Can I read out this tweet here? My name is Ross, and for about 10 years, people used to come up to me and scream, "We were on a break."
Yeah, I can see how that happened. Ger is in Kildare. Ger, you're on 98 FM. How are you?
How are you getting on, lads?
Good, thank you, Ger. Well, how was your name ruined?
Well, long story short, my name is Jerry, my brother's name is Thomas, and in school every time we used to walk in through the door, everyone would say, "Here comes the Tom and Jerry kid."
Now, why would your parents call you Tom and Jerry?
I have no idea.
Yeah, so that was a complete wreck the head constantly.
Every day. Every single day.
Very good. Tom and Jerry, yeah, I can see how that would be quite annoying. My name is Trish, says this message.
Okay, don't tell me how this is used. See if I can guess.
Yeah, go on.
Okay, what else did she say in the message?
I always hear.
Okay, my name is Trish, and I always hear.
Yeah. This is easy.
My name is Trish, and I always hear. Give me a clue.
She might be known for taking her clothes off.
I've no idea.
Trish.
Oh! People come up to her and they go, and with a swing of her hips,
much, yeah.
she
Trish,
started to strip.
Trish the stripper, yeah.
Yeah. Why would you call someone Patricia?
Anyway, keep your messages coming in to 0877 98 98 98. Adam.
Yes.
This is terribly, terribly childish. Your name is Adam, and you always get asked what?
Where's Eve?
Now, if you married someone called Eve, that would be very cool, wouldn't it?
It would be very handy, but it's not the only one. I also get Adam and Leanne. Where's Leanne? Oh. And Adam and Steve is another one that I get quite regularly. But Adam and Eve is the most common, so...
It's not Adam and Eve, it's Adam and Steve. Yeah. Or the well, there's a few that you could have as well. You have Adamant, don't you?
Have that one, yeah.
And do people still call you Adamant?
Yeah, the whole time. I'd be in like professional environments, and they'll say my name's Adam, and they go, "Where's Eve?" And I kind of go, "Oh shit!" I mean, I've heard that a million times already, you know. So.
But that's the gas thing about these people, and it's like the people that say Adrian to Adrian. They think that they're so funny, and they think that the first person that and I've been with Adrian when people say that to him, and you're at the point where you punch them now.
It just does my head in, yeah, because it's like I've heard this since 1976, since Rocky was the thing. But yeah, Adrian. Yeah, okay, lads, I've heard it.
Now, has anybody ever asked you where Paul is?
No, not yet, actually. But
I'm surprised at
they
that.
probably will now. So yeah.
Adrian, do you know what we're talking about?
Yeah, Adam and Paul. Yes, of course you do. Yeah.
Do you know who Mary Kate and Ashley are, Adam?
I do know they are. Yeah.
Adrian's the only person.
No, I do now. The Olsen twins. Here's another WhatsApp voice message.
How's it going? My name is Colin, and when I was growing up there was an ad for Skips the Crisps, and it went clumsy Colin. So when I used to walk up the road as a child living in Tala, it was hard, believe me. I was in more fights over that bloody ad. Well, anyway.
Good man, thanks very much indeed.
Here's another one, Adrian. I don't know where this comes from, this person. My surname is Murphy, and for years growing up, people used to call me Spud. Why do people call Murphy Spud? I always wondered that.
I've always wondered that myself, actually.
Everybody that I know through my whole life who has the surname Murphy
was called Spud Murphy.
Was called Spud. What's the reason?
Maybe somebody knows the answer to that because I don't. Let's have a listen to this message.
All right, lads. My initials are JR. I get someone ask me, don't know how many times, who shot me.
That's actually funny.
That is quite...
Explain that to people who may not be aware of that.
Back in the day, there was a television program called Dallas, and JR was the bad guy in the program, and he got shot. And for after that series, the series ended with him being shot, and the whole catchphrase for that whole summer was, "Who shot JR?"
I'm just looking it up here while you were talking there, Adrian, why people with the surname Murphy are called Spud. Do you know the answer?
No,
because either do I can't find the answer. It's bizarre. It says that if you have the name Murphy in Ireland, you more likely, when you were in school, had the nickname Spud, but there's no background as to where this name actually came from or this nickname. Spud Murphy.
My name is Sylvia. Okay, come on, Jeremy. What does Sylvia constantly get asked? Come on.
Give me a clue.
She constantly gets asked something.
Sylvia's her name.
Yeah.
No.
Come on, this is easy.
Her name is Sylvia. She
constantly gets asked.
No.
How's your mother?
No. Why has
there was a song back in the day called Sylvia's Mother.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is it like a woman that grew up on my estate whose name was Phyllis, and people used to say to her every day, "Fill us a glass of water."
That's so childish.
Hey lads, there was a fella in my job years ago called Nick Ayers. Now say that fastly.
Nick Ayers.
Knickers.
My name is Kim. Then they call me Kimberly. Then comes the song Mikado and Coconut Creams. My name is just 3 letters. It wrecks my head. And then another one, Sweet Caroline. My arms get dragged into the air every time it's on. It brings me good energy, though, says that message. And
another tweet here, Adrian, and you'd have to feel sorry for this. My name is Eileen. I won't go into details, but you you can imagine what it was like growing up in the 80s with the name Eileen.
Apparently, Murphys are called Spud Murphy, because, according to this message, back in the day, there were crisps called Spud Murphy.
I'll try and find that out for you now.
Says Eileen. Eileen's claiming this. I don't know how true that is.
Oh, and her name is Eileen as well.
Oh, how awkward. Come on, Eileen.
I'm just looking it up. No. There's no crisps called Spud Murphys. No, they never actually existed. So
right, so that's not the answer.
No, that's not the answer.
Somebody must know the answer as to why somebody who's called Murphy gets nicknamed Spud. Every Murphy I've ever known has been called Spud Murphy.
My brother's name, says this person, is Stewie Griffin, the same as Family Guy. We work with a fella called Stewie Griffin.
We do,
don't we?
Yeah, he's up on that floor, yeah.
And he actually chooses to call himself Stewie instead of Stuart.
Now, one last call, and that is Liz. You're on 98 FM. Hi, Liz.
Hi.
Now, Liz, what do you get called?
Lucille Ball.
Lucille Ball?
Yeah. It used to be a comedy that was out years ago.
It was. And but your name is, Lucy. Oh, yeah, Liz Lucy.
Yeah, my surname's Lucy.
Ah, right, okay. And you got constantly called Lucille Ball.
Definitely.
How annoying.
I would have thought people would say to you all the time, "Are you in the sky with diamonds?"
No, unfortunately not.
Oh, nobody says that to you, do they?
No.
Okay,
Not at all.
so you regularly get called Lucille Ball.
Yep.
Thanks very much indeed. Now, okay, back to Spud Murphy and how Murphys get called Spud. It is more likely and often suggested that the nickname Spud for people named Murphy has to do with the name Murphy being one of the most common surnames in Ireland.
I actually have the actual answer.
Oh, do you? Oh, brilliant. Okay,
this is the definitive answer as to why people with the name Murphy are called Spud, and it's so obvious that you'll kick yourself. Tato Crisps, Adrian, as you know, were established in 1954.
Correct.
And the man who found Tato Crisps, the man who founded the company, his name was Joe Murphy. Joe Murphy ended up with the nickname Spud in 1954 after he founded the famous Crisps, and the name Joe Spud Murphy then was passed on to anybody with the name Murphy. So you remember where you heard this first on 98 FM. The next time you hear somebody by the name of Murphy being called Spud, you can tell them that it dates back to 1954. I didn't realise Tato were around that long.
Yeah, they
since
are,
the 50s.
Yep.
Well, there you go. Joe Spud Murphy. That's him.
That's where the name came from.
That's where it came from.
I don't know if that's true.
It is true. I'm just after, I literally
He was
researched.
called Joe Spud Murphy, but maybe because he was a Murphy, he was called Spud.
That's the reason. Okay.
My name is Olive. Need I say any more? And then, one more message. Oh yeah, lots of people saying it's because of Mr. Tato Crisps, Joe Spud Murphy.
So that woman that said my name is Olive. Need I say more? Yes, because I don't know
I
what you
don't
mean.
get it either, to be quite honest.
Oh, I know. What do you say to a woman called Olive?
I don't know. What do you say?
Olive your clothes off.
Was that it?
Well, you probably couldn't say that anymore, could you? It was probably appropriate back in the 80s, not anymore.
All right, thank you very much indeed. This is 98 FM.
98 FM. Dublin Talks.
And this is Adrian Kennedy with you until midday today. Now, next on the programme, are you a man who has become a father in the last year? If so, did you take paternity leave? This is 2 weeks paid leave that fathers are entitled to when their child comes along. Or are you a woman who gave birth in the last year? Did the father of your child take time off work that he is entitled to? Well, we have a couple of questions to ask. Is it selfish for men not to take paternity leave and expect the woman to do everything with the new baby? Can you understand why a man wouldn't take paternity leave? Well, Social Protection Minister Regina Doherty warned that Ireland needs a proper conversation about the value of staying at home. Figures show that about 60% of men who are the father to new babies do not take the existing handout of paternity leave. So the state will pay you €245 a week for 2 weeks, which may be voluntarily topped up by private companies if their employee is on a higher salary. But apparently 60% of men entitled to paternity leave don't take it. And we want to find out why. She said that the decision to make the payments non-transferable was crucial to stimulating a debate about the role of fathers. In other words, fathers can't pass on their leave to the mother. They can only use it themselves. And we want to find out why it is that 60% of men who are entitled to paternity leave, which is time off work when their child is born, 2 weeks paid leave, and they're talking about extending it, but some would argue, why bother extending it when 60% don't bother taking it? I'd love to hear from you on this on 6797 981. You can text or WhatsApp us on 0877 98 98 98. Fathers, by law, are entitled to 2 weeks paid leave from work. And I want to find out why so few are taking the actual time off. 60% have not taken the full entitlement of 2 weeks paid leave from work when their child is born. I want to find out why. Call me right now on 6797 981. You can text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98.
98 FM's Dublin Talks with Des Kelly Interiors. For all the latest trends in carpets, vinyls and wood flooring. Des Kelly Interiors, where quality flooring costs less. 98 FM.
So when a woman has a baby, and she's working, she is entitled to 6 months maternity leave and can extend it with unpaid leave a little bit further than that. Men, on the other hand, only in the last couple of years have been entitled to 2 weeks off work by law, and the state will pay you €245 a week for staying at home with the baby. However, 60% of men do not take their paternity leave entitlement. Simple as that. They just don't take it. And we want to find out why. Why are men not taking what they're entitled to? Rob is in Drimna. You're on 98 FM, Rob. How are you?
How's it going? How's things?
Good, thanks, Rob. Well, Rob, it wouldn't work for you. Why not?
No. Well, my missus is due now in June, and as much as I'd love to take 2 weeks off, extra, and I was going to take 2 weeks holidays and take 2 weeks paternity, but look, you just can't afford it. Like, if I take 2 weeks off, 240 quid, I'm down 800 then. Only monthly wages, like, just to take 2 weeks off.
Now, some companies will subsidize. Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
My boss is a bleeding scab, like, I mean, he won't come across at all, like. So he's giving me nothing off, like, I mean, he won't even give me time off. He just said you can take the paternity leave and that's it, like. But
okay, so he basically said that you can have it if you want it, but
tough just to deal with it, you know what I mean? They take the 240 quid from the scratch here, and that's all you're getting, like, you're not getting any extra money off us, like.
So you basically, even though the state will pay 245 quid a week towards your 2 weeks, you'd earn what, for nearly 500 quid for the 2 weeks off. That wouldn't be enough for you. You'd be out of pocket.
No, it'd be down about 800 quid, yeah.
So it's just,
I mean, the rent I'm paying $15.50 a month in rent.
Okay, so financially you simply couldn't afford it, much and all as you're legally entitled to it. Financially, you couldn't afford to.
That's why 60% of people aren't taking it, because they just can't afford it. And the government are living in a bubble. Like, these are all these people are loaded. They're all on big money. All the people that make the rules, they're on big money. So,
but now that's all a woman will get on maternity leave. It's the same amount.
Well, that's the thing. Like, my missus is getting maternity, but she works she works for the government basically. So she gets hers is topped up for the government. You know what I mean? So.
Right. So she's nearly on a full wage.
Oh, she's on a full wage. She'll get a full wage, like, for the whole paternity. Now she's taking unpaid leave as well, so we're saving for that so she can take some time off. But, like, it doesn't make any sense to me. Like, I mean, they expect the fathers, like, to take time off and be down that money. It just doesn't work. Like, it's not realistic. It's all right for them to take the money off because their bleeding wages are like 200 grand, 300 grand a year. You know what I mean? So it's nothing to them. It's dropping the ocean to them.
Okay, so when your baby comes along, how many days realistically will you take off?
I'm taking 2 weeks holidays of my own holidays.
Right, which is your holiday entitlement, so you'll still get full pay for that.
Yeah, well, I won't be using the paternity leave. I might as well not take it because, like, I can't afford to do it. Like, I'd love to be able to do it. I really would love to be able to take the month off. Like, it'd be great, but, you know, it's not realistic, you know. And, like, it's across the board. Like, anyone I've ever talked to about it calls it the same. I couldn't afford to take it off. 230 quid, 40 quid. That's not worth a show. You get any boy nappies and formula and everything. You know, that's 240 is nothing, like.
Okay, so for you to take paternity leave when your baby comes in June, you will be out of pocket, so it just wouldn't be financially viable.
Yeah, that's it. Just can't afford to do it. Like, you know, with the price of rent, it's like $15.50 a month is my rent, and then I have to pay, like, maintenance for my other 2 kids, like, you know what I mean, from previous relationship. Like, so, like, there's not a whole lot left, like, after that, and then you have to try and take 2 weeks off and pay for it yourself. So no, it doesn't work. The government are living in a bubble, I think.
All right, now the government are actually talking about extending parental leave and giving fathers more time off. That's a complete waste of time then, is it?
Waste of time. Unless they wait, take another 2 weeks. Sure, you can take a month off, why don't you? Sure, like, of course, you can just keep offering that to people, but, like, no one's going to take it. They think they're being great by offering it to people. Oh, we give you an extra 2 weeks, aren't we great? But no one's going to take it because they can't afford it. Because the whole country is just in a mess because of them. Like, I mean, it's real time that people start waking up and start saying, stop voting for Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, because nothing's going to change with them.
Okay, so much and all as it might be a nice idea to give fathers the time off, financially for you, it's just not a runner.
No, doesn't work.
All right, okay, let's have a listen to this WhatsApp voice message.
The reason men aren't taking the paternity leave is because they'll be in the way at home and the baby sleeps for the 4-6 months and anyhow, so what's the point?
That's an interesting point. Actually, there's a question. If you've had a baby in the last couple of years, did you want him at home for the whole time? Or was he a bloody hindrance? Call me right now on 6797 981. Text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98. Paddy, you're on Dublin's 98 FM. How are you, Paddy?
Thanks, how are you?
Paddy, why do you think so many men aren't taking paternity leave?
I don't know, to be honest now, because the day that we're living in, like, it's not just the women that have to do the job. The men also have to do the job. Like, I took 5 weeks off when my wife had our baby there in September. I got 2 weeks paternity. I only got the what was it, whatever, 240 or something a week. Then I got 1 week's holiday and then 2 weeks unpaid leave.
And could you afford to do that? You obviously could.
Well, no, like, we had our savings, so we had to dip into our savings to help us survive, like, when I wasn't in work. But, like, I think it's very unfair that I can't say, no, listen, I'm going to take 2 months off and help my wife look after the child, you know?
And were you helpful? Because you heard that message there a second ago. The baby sleeps half the time anyway. So what need is there for you to be around?
Like, for myself, I'm used to being up late. I'm used to getting up early. So I was doing a lot of the late feeds. I was doing a lot of the early feeds. I was letting her get as much rest as she possibly could, you know?
Okay, so you were useful. But the point you're making is, even though the state will pay you 245 quid a week to stay at home for 2 weeks, you had to plan for that, basically, financially plan for it.
We knew that, see, my wife had cholestasis, so she was getting induced, but we knew when she was getting induced, so I could go in and say, listen, we're going to be going in at this time, I'm taking this length of time off. We planned to have the money saved to be able to sustain ourselves for those couple of weeks.
Okay, so you had to plan for it. The money that the state offers wouldn't have been enough.
No, it's not enough. Now, luckily, my wife has a very good job, and she got her wages brought all the way up for her company.
Which is great. Not all companies do that. Some do, but not all. All right, Paddy, thanks very much indeed. 6797 981 is our telephone number. You can text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98. We're trying to find out, and it appears we've already found the answer, as to why 60% of men do not take their legal entitlement to paternity leave. Men are entitled to 2 weeks off when their baby is born. The state will pay €245, which is the exact same that the women get paid when they're on maternity leave. And we're trying to find out why only 60% of men, why 60% of men aren't taking it up. Only 40% of men are actually taking it up. Mark is in Bray. You're on 98 FM. Mark, how are you?
Not too bad, mate.
Well, Mark, what do you want to say?
I'm with the other guys, you know. It's hard enough with kids as it is, and then having to fork out a lot of money at the time, and just to drop your wages to take two weeks off? Not worth it. You're better off taking the time off or annual leave or something.
Which is what one of our previous callers said. His baby is due in June, and he's taking 2 weeks paid holidays.
Exactly. At least you'll get everything a 4 weeks wage, which in this day and age, how can you afford not to have? You know.
But do you expect the state to pay you a full wage? I mean, women don't get a full wage when they're on maternity leave, unless they happen to work for a company that tops up their wages, but those companies are few and far between.
Yeah, maybe that's something that companies need to start looking into to look after their employees, because it's not like everybody's having a kid every week, are they? You know.
Yeah, okay. So you think that companies should, if a man wants to take his 2 week entitlement and the state is going to pay $245 towards that, whatever the balance is for his normal wage, the company should make that up?
Well, I think the state should offset half, whatever their wages is, do the half, and then company can offer their half, and then, you know, everybody wins. It's not like we're not paying enough taxes as it is to at least get some benefits.
Okay, so the state should up the money, basically.
Yeah, well, the guy, I mean, everybody, people who have been calling in, everybody's working full time. That's the whole reason this whole it's come about, is 2 weeks off because you're working full time. So they're paying taxes every week, you know.
All right, so more money from the state. This message says, I took 2 weeks out of my holiday entitlement and applied for the 245 paternity pay as well, and also got it. You just have to put the dates you want to be paid, and the money went into the bank. So I got the welfare money and holiday pay. Not sure if it's just my company that organised that for me, but worth asking your boss about, says that message. Dave, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Dave?
Sorry. Well, Adrian, what's the crack?
Good, Dave. What do you want to say?
No, I think for a lot of people, especially in the cities, I like in Dublin, I can understand it probably is about the money. But there is also this thing, you know, we all know this fella who'll pontificate about, I never saw my kids when they were younger because I was always out working. It's like this kind of badge of honour thing. You know, I never saw my children because I was always working to provide for the family. And like that sentiment is still there. Like where I live, like there's still like I kids who still have never changed a nappy in their lives. Do you know? And they could have like 7 or 8 kids. They've never once changed a nappy because to them it's like the man's job is to be out working and the woman's job is to be at home minding the kids. So I think that's a lot of it as well. Because I know people who've had kids that goes, do you take off for 2 weeks? And they were like, why would I? I have to go out and work. Simple as.
Okay, so can you understand why so many men aren't taking the time off?
Oh yeah, well you see, I know fellas now. These probably few and far in between, but they feel like less of a man for some reason for staying at home with the child.
Right, they want to be out working.
Well, they want to be seen to be as the provider, and I missed my kids, half my kids' confirmation because I had to go to work, that kind of stuff. Like I know a fella who will not, even though he has 3 kids, will not walk down the road with the buggy because he's afraid people will call him a big woman.
Really? There's actually men still like that?
There are people still like that, and it's a lot more prevalent than you think. Like, my own father never once changed a nappy for any of us.
Ah, yeah, but that was back in the day, Dave.
But that's what I mean, but that was back in the day, but people like that still exist. Like, if I turned around to my missus and said, here, I'm not changing any nappies, she'd break my jaw.
Okay, stay there for 1 second, Dave. Mandy, you're on 98 FM. How are you, Mandy?
Good morning.
Mandy, why are so many men not taking paternity leave?
It has to be the financial end of it. Like, we're quite lucky because my wages are being subsidised, so that's fine. I'm on a full wage while I'm on maternity leave. But let's just say I wasn't. And even if both of us had been working, we would only be entitled to that 245. So that's 490 a week to live on for a family.
Yes.
That's insane.
It's not an awful lot of money, really. Sure it's not.
No, can't be done.
So it is primarily for financial reasons that most men aren't taking the time off because they work in companies that don't subsidise their paternity leave.
That has to be it.
Now, we'll stay there for 1 second because, Melanie, you don't even agree with paternity leave. You think it's ridiculous.
No, like I don't think that men should get paternity leave. Like I think €240 is like that could be put to something that's much needed in other places. Like put it into into schools or into healthcare or into even our roads. Something that's a lot more beneficial because nobody really benefits apart from the partner. And even then, does she really benefit? So I kind of think it's a waste of money, and I also don't really see the point.
You don't see the point of the state helping men to spend time at home, albeit only 2 weeks compared to 6 months for a woman.
Yeah, I mean, spend time with your child when you come home from work, or that's what weekends are for, you know what I mean? I think giving men €240 each man every time you have the child, like, it's such a waste of taxpayers' money. Why should I pay, Adrian, for you to stay at home for 2 weeks when there's people on trolleys, like, sleeping in hallways and... Do you know what I mean? Like, I just don't see see the point. I don't think men should get paternity leave. And, like, even moaning about what they're getting, like, shut up and be lucky that you get anything. It's such a waste.
It's such a waste.
Yeah, like...
For the state to allow fathers to actually spend 2 weeks at home with their child.
Do you realise that €240, do you realise how much that accumulates to every year?
Yeah, a fair few, Bob. Well, mind you, only 40% of men are even taking it.
If that's still 40% of the population of Irish men, that's a lot. And it's €240 that could be far better spent in other places. Paternity leave is not a vital requirement. That's why the mother gets maternity leave. She's at home with the baby. So, like, I mean, you come home in the evening and spend time with your baby in the evening. You don't need to be paid to stay off work. If your employer is sound enough to let you take time off work, that's great. But why should I have to pay for you to stay at home?
Well, in fact, a lot of people are saying, like this message, because it's only 2 weeks long. In my opinion, I think the government should fully pay a man for his 2 weeks off.
No way. I think that the reason being too generous. I thought rather see my tax money going to other places rather than paying Billy and Jack to sit at home with their baby.
So what are you saying? It only takes one parent to look after the child. It doesn't need two.
Yeah, like, I mean, as one of your previous callers and WhatsAppers said, I mean, the baby sleeps all day, basically. They wait probably to be fed and to be changed, which takes the whole of probably time together 45 minutes, and then they're back to sleep for maybe another 3 or 4 hours. I mean, what's Daddy going to do? Sit there for €240 of my money watching the baby sleep? I'm sorry, but that's just bullcrap.
Okay, so it's a complete and utter waste of money, and men should never have been offered paternity leave.
Yeah, it's a total waste of resources. I would take paternity leave away altogether. Leave maternity leave, obviously. I'd leave it at what it is. I think, what is it, 6 months?
Well, actually, here's a man who agrees with you. You don't see the need for this paternity leave, Jude.
No, I totally agree with that lady, Melanie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like, to have a great job, it's already there. There's not that much of an uptake on it because they should actually give the money towards more to the women who are on maternity or maternity leave. Give it to the women. Like, men don't. Like, it's this bonding thing. Like, do they have to, or they want to stay there and breastfeed with the woman and then collect the last drop of milk just in case the baby spills it or something?
But hang on, Jude. Fathers surely are as entitled to spend time at home with their child as mothers are. Now,
yeah, then and take the time off work. I have no problem with take the time off work. Take all the time off work. But
so take a 2-week holiday.
Yeah, take it at your own expense. You know, why you, like, it's already a low uptake as it is. You see, most men do it, but it's usually out of tightness because they want that money from the government, yet no, they still want a full week's wage.
Yeah, but very few actually do get a full week's wage still. Do you know what I mean? And that's why an awful lot of men are taking it up.
But they still have that legal entitlement to take the time off. No one is stopping the men from taking off. The government aren't even stopping them. No one is stopping them from having this entitlement.
So you agree with what Melanie was saying, that it is a complete waste of taxpayers' money to be giving men 2 weeks off?
Yeah, especially when they say a low uptake. Like, as I said, give it to the lady who's at home with the baby. Give that money to them. Give them more money.
Do you have children?
Yes, I've one.
And did you take time off when your child was born?
Yeah, I took a month off.
You took a month off at your own expense?
Yeah, at my own expense.
Now, obviously, you took that time off because you felt it important to be around when your child was home from hospital and everything else.
Yeah, but it wasn't about, it was like she was tired with a hard pregnancy or whatever. But I stayed at home just to run the house like she would if she was able to do it. You know, like, I mean, just run the house, you know, do every little thing that, the things that she wanted done because she was busy with the baby or she was tired or whatever, you know. It wasn't as I was doing anything miraculous.
Okay, but you think that it would be more beneficial for a woman to be given another 2 weeks maternity leave than giving any paternity leave to men?
Yeah, or even give her the extra money for it. You know, give her the money, you know.
I mean, we do live in an age where we're supposedly entitled to equality of the sexes.
Also, do you think men would want the right now to breastfeed or something, like? Or men want the right to give birth? Like,
you're being silly now.
No, I'm not being silly, but if you want to get right down to the brass tacks, society will never be totally equal. Because men can never give birth, so how is the equality in that?
Okay, what about this message? What about this message that says paternity leave is good for a woman? She needs someone to look after her after those emotional days of having a baby.
Yeah, that's why I said I did that, but I think it shouldn't be paid. Like, I don't think it should be paid.
All right, stay there for a second, Jude. 6797 981 is our telephone number. We'll take another couple of calls from Patrick and from Mandy straight after the break.
98 FM's Dublin Talks with Des Kelly Interiors. For all the latest trends in carpets, vinyls and wood flooring. Des Kelly Interiors. Where quality flooring costs less. 98 FM.
It's 98 FM. I'm Adrian. We're in the middle of a conversation about why only 40% of men who are entitled to take paid paternity leave, in that the state will pay $245 towards your 2-week break, basically, when your baby comes along. But only 40% of men are taking up the offer. 60% aren't. Let's have a listen to this WhatsApp voice message.
What about when women have cesareans? Like, they can't drive for 6 weeks. What, is the man not allowed to take a couple of weeks off, paid, to help? Don't understand it. Like, the woman says there, then the man's back every evening. What about the men that work away from home? I'm here working away from home. Like, you're not making sense here.
Okay, there's a man who's from Donegal or somewhere like that, who's working down in Dublin, I'm assuming. Patrick is in Clondalkin. You're on 98 FM. How are you, Patrick?
How are you doing?
Good, Patrick. You think that the state should be paying fathers full wage while they're off?
Yeah, full wage. I think it encourages more fathers to take the first couple of weeks off if you're getting full pay. And why not get full pay? Where else does your taxes go? There's a lot of families out there that don't work and they're getting everything. The guys are at home not working, rented houses, your taxes pay all that. Why can't the man that works full time? It might encourage more guys to spend the first couple of weeks, which will give the wife a bit of a break. I'm sure everything's all over. I've got kids that are adults now, but they're overwhelmed after giving birth. Why not give them 2 full weeks pay, 2 weeks at home till she gets herself organised through the pain, relax, gets herself in a routine where then it's right, now it's time to go back to work. What else is our taxes taken out our money for? What do we benefit from our taxes to a degree? Nothing much really. There is stuff you can get. But most of the time, they don't use their taxes for anything.
Okay, but like you're talking about the state paying your full wage. Some people are on a very hefty wage, and you want the state to pay that.
And what comes with a hefty wage? A hefty tax bill. Still balances out. Whatever way you look at it, Adrian. If you're on a hefty wage, you pay a hefty tax bill. Most of your taxes is to look after all these other people that are on the social welfare. So if you can look after them for a whole year, why can't you be looked after for 2 weeks? Spend time with your child.
Okay, but why should one man be entitled to, I don't know, whatever, 1,500 quid a week, and another be entitled to 500 quid a week? That's not fair either.
Well, come here, that's fair. Why should it? That's the same way as saying, like, the guy's on 1,500 quid, he's paying more tax than the guy on 500 quid. So it balances out in the end. I'm not going to go into the nitty-gritty about what you pay taxes. If you're on that type of 1,500 quid a week, you're going to pay the taxes to equivalent to that. Same with someone on 400 quid a week. So you're getting your tax money back just for 2 weeks. 2 weeks of the year. The other 50 weeks of the year, your taxes are going to some other dude that can sit at home with his missus and a baby in a rented paid house that don't work because the social welfare payments is enough to keep them going. That's your tax money doing that as well. Why can't you have 2 weeks at home with your own wife and child when the firstborn? It's going to encourage more guys.
Okay, so full wages.
If you have a mortgage, you can't afford to take time off.
No, and that seems to be the main reason that so few men are actually taking the paid paternity leave. Where am I going now? Another WhatsApp voice message.
Lads, I have 3 young kids and I go to work for a rest. So there you go. Hey.
Finally, David, you're on 98 FM. How are you, David?
I'm not too bad, Adrian. How are you, David?
Good, David. What do you want to say on this?
So basically, Jill and that lady, I think they're extremely obnoxious in terms of men not being entitled to get 2 weeks paid by the state. I work full time. I have a 5-year-old child now. At the time when Luke was born, none of this was out. I took 2 weeks paid leave and a week's unpaid because my partner had an emergency C-section.
Right.
These people aren't thinking about the complications that women go through. Could have a traumatic experience of birth. They're not be able to care for themselves or the child. So you have to be more open-minded with this. Like, at the end of the day, we're in the 21st century. Things are moving along. I'm not going to get into abortion, but all these different things are being changed, etc. So people need to get on with time. every man or woman are entitled to time off to spend time with their child.
Okay, but what? And by law, yes, they are entitled to it, and yes, they do get it. And men get 2 weeks paid paternity leave, where the state will pay 245 quid, but only 40% of men are even taking up the offer.
But a lot of men are probably aren't in a position to actually take that time off work unpaid due to bills, etc., mortgages, rents, car payments, child payments. Like if you have other children, it's school fees, and it's not enough. I know they're saying 245, yes, but I think they should increase it to at least 400 or 500 a week. If someone's on 1,500 a week, I don't think that should be matched, but it should be like an average rate over the year. We pay enough taxes on everything. The politicians get enough pay rise, etc., throughout the year to use the private jet, etc. And I don't think it's a problem of each man to get a payment, say, between 300 and 500 a week, just for 2 weeks, you know?
Okay, so, what about that, Jude? The state should pay more money, actually, rather than none.
No, because there's lots of people out there who are paying loads of taxes. They don't have kids, so they don't get paternity. But, like, why should a legal right cost? We have the legal right to vote, yes? That's an entitlement. You're not paid for that. There's other legal rights. Why does a legal right have to mean you have to be paid to avail of that legal right? No one's stopping anyone from taking the leave. But why does that a legal right have to be paid for? Just like we're not paid to vote, but that's an entitled legal right.
It's not the same thing now. It's not. You're not.
It's a legal right, though. It's a legal right. So why do people have to be paid to take it?
Because people can't afford to take the time off that they need to spend at home with their child.
They're not able to, but again, the right's there. Whether they're able to financially afford it or not, it's not the point. The right is still there.
But to make it more affordable, they need to be paid more money. That's what David is saying.
Absolutely.
But there's lots of people who pay. There's lots of people who pay taxes and they don't have children. What about, do they not get time off work?
That's a fair point, actually, David. You know, we're talking about.
It's a fair point, but that's the point he wants to bring up for paid leave by the state. Perhaps bring it forward to the dog, bring it up to a TD. There's parents out there getting paid leave for 2 weeks per year, etc. when you have a newborn child. Why can't me, as a person, a single person or a married person that has no children, why do we have to work and use our paid holidays from our employer? This is something you should be fighting for.
All right, David, as Jude said, it is a legal entitlement. You are entitled to it, but only 40% of men are actually taking up the offer of paid paternity leave. Anyway, thanks very much indeed for all of your calls. This is 98 FM.
98 FM's Dublin Talks. Text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98.
Now, something you should be made aware of. Pickpocket gangs jet in to target women shoppers. That's the front page of the Irish Daily Mail today. And in the Irish Daily Mail today, Ali Bracken writes that elderly women are being targeted by international pickpocket gangs who are flying into Ireland, spying on pensioners as they enter their pins and then rob their bank cards in shop car parks, according to the Irish Daily Mail. And I'm joined on the line by the crime correspondent for the Irish Daily Mail, Ali Bracken. Ali, welcome to 98 FM.
How you doing? Good morning.
This is very sinister.
Yeah, it's something that's kind of been happening in various parts of the country, and because it's regarded as a simple theft, essentially, by Gardaí. It's being dealt with by local Gardaí in the various parts of the country where it's happening. But a pattern began to emerge with the profile of the suspects. So the National, the Garda Bureau of Economic Crime, the fraud squad, essentially, have become involved to examine this issue, and they've established that since the beginning of the year there is groups of Romanian, primarily men and women, flying into Ireland, renting cars, and particularly targeting older women in supermarkets in this manner.
And how do they know that they're flying in specifically for this?
Well, they swap in intelligence with, their European counterparts, and they did make arrests in relation to one of these gangs in Tala, and one Romanian man was charged with this crime in Tala. So essentially, they've been building up the profile of these people and keeping an eye on them, I suppose, and some of them were recently arrested in the UK for committing similar crimes.
Okay, so they arrive in their droves, and tell me what their modus operandi is. What are they doing? Who are they targeting?
Well, they rent a car primarily, and then they seem to have been going kind of towards the west of Ireland a bit. And they'll essentially kind of drive around. They'll go into supermarkets. I think there's around I think it's about 5 or 6. I think it's at small groups of them, usually about 3 people. They'll go into a supermarket. They're particularly looking for older women. They will kind of follow them around, and then when they're paying for their shopping, they'll try and see if they can catch sight of their PIN number that they put into the machine. Then when they follow them out of the shop, and then another one of their gang, usually a woman, will go up to their target and start asking for directions or distract them in some way. And then another member of the gang will try and steal the person's purse from their handbag.
Okay, but they're doing this in a very sinister way in that it would appear that a female member of the gang will distract the woman, so she might be more amenable to an approach.
You're more likely to trust a woman, I think, would be the general feeling. So and especially I suppose if this woman is a foreign national, maybe it's not unusual for them to be asking for directions, I suppose, as well, if they're, here visiting on holidays, or that would be the appearance. So, yeah, a woman asks the target for directions or some kind of help. And obviously, if you're coming out of a supermarket, you're juggling a lot of things anyway. Like, you're trying to load your car, you've got your shopping, you've got your handbag. So any person is more vulnerable.
And do we know, Ali, how successful they've been? How many women do we know have been targeted like this?
Well, they believe that there's been about 30 cases that Gardaí are aware of nationally, but it could actually be a lot higher. That's just in fishing with the pattern. There could be the figure could be a lot higher, it was said to me, because a lot of them could have been logged in a different way by the local Gardaí, but there's 30 that Gardaí are aware of.
Okay, so once again, this particular gang or gangs primarily target elderly women doing their weekly shopping in supermarkets, memorising their PIN numbers, and when they're outside, then being approached by a female gang member who will distract them and give them the opportunity to be pickpocketed of their bank cards and whatever.
This is it, yeah, you have it in a nutshell there.
Wow, okay. So they've already been reported operating in Tala, in Waterford, Sligo and Meath. So basically the warning is to be aware if you're being distracted.
Yeah, the warning is just to be very wary of anybody, I suppose, speaking to you when you're, trying to load your shopping, when you're just trying to, I suppose, leave the supermarket having finished, just to be very careful and wary of people who approach you.
All right, but it's a good warning to have out there, and well-written story. Ali Bracken is the crime correspondent for the Irish Daily Mail. That story in full is in their newspaper today. Pickpocket gangs jet in to target women shoppers. So make your mother or your grandmother or your wife aware of this story, because it seems that they're just so clever about how they do it that they can easily distract and pickpocket, and they know exactly who they're targeting. All right. Once again, that story in today's Irish Daily Mail. Now, that is it from us for today. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. If you have anything you'd like to bring up on the programme tomorrow, send us an email right now to DublinTalks@98fm.com. DublinTalks@98fm.com. Back tomorrow morning at 10. Barry Dunn is on the way, and in the next hour, some great music lined up like these.
It's only your currents making me dance. 98 FM's Dublin Talks with Des Kelly Interiors. For all the latest trends in carpets, vinyls and wood flooring. Des Kelly Interiors, where quality flooring costs less. 98 FM.